afraid you can't go home.
Why?
Because you've done terrible things.
Number 20. Gaston tries to kill Maurice, Beauty and the Beast.
She's the one. The lucky girl I'm going to marry.
But she's
the most beautiful girl in town.
I know, but
that makes her the best.
Gaston is a misogynistic brute bent on winning the heart of Belle. To do so, he misguidedly threatens to have her father Maurice imprisoned. His plan is to use Maurice's claims of the Beast against him, have him thrown in the local asylum, and then have him released should Belle agree to marriage. It's a twisted plan, but at least it's not murder. Well, it is in the 2017 remake, almost. In this version, Gaston agrees to tag along with Maurice, hoping that he will earn his approval for Belle. But Maurice refuses, so Gaston ties him up and leaves him to be eaten by wolves. This completely ruins Gaston's characterization and makes him far more of a one-dimensional and ultimately less interesting villain.
At least we're not tied to a tree in the middle of nowhere surrounded by bloodthirsty wolves. You know, it's not too late. We could always turn back.
Number 19. The removal of social commentary. Rollerball.
Well, maybe if she'd get up in the air, somebody would pass her the ball.
Enough! We have a game to play. On three. 1, 2, 3.
Starring Chris Klein and LL Cool J, Rollerball is an action movie about a violent fictional sport and the people who play it. Pretty much everybody hated it. It was trashed by critics for its over-reliance on choppy action, and author William Harrison, who wrote the original short story, claimed that he had no interest in seeing it.
What the hell are they doing?
That's probably because it butchered its original intention. Harrison wrote the screenplay for the 1975 original, which contains biting social commentary about corporations, censorship, and individualism. The 2002 remake completely does away with these themes, being little more than a loud and hectic action movie without anything substantial to say.
Games created to demonstrate the futility of individual effort. Let the game do its work.
Number 18. Michael's characterization. Halloween.
Michael's downward slide into this hellish abyss continues. I fear he's on the verge of completely shutting down.
What makes the original Halloween work so well is the elusive and seemingly supernatural nature of Michael Myers. Michael is never really explained and remains an enigma throughout the film. There is little information about his background. He has zero personality whatsoever, and he doesn't have much of a motive. He just wants to kill people. He's the very embodiment of evil. And then there's Rob Zombie's remake, which delves far too deep into Michael's motive and characterization. It also establishes that Laurie is Michael's sister, which has always been a contentious plot point that some don't consider canon, including the makers of the 2018 sequel boot. We get what Zombie was trying to do here, but it just didn't work. Like, at all.
Please, if you don't communicate with me, how can I help you? I'm here to help you. I feel an utter failure at the moment that I just can't get through to you.
Number 17. Arthur is more obnoxious. Arthur.
You drunk again, Arthur?
No. I have remained drunk since our last encounter.
Russell Brand considers Arthur one of his biggest failures, and that pretty much says all you need to know. Released in 2011, Arthur is a very annoying movie about a very annoying man. Arthur Bach is a giant man-child with a snarky personality and misanthropic beliefs. He hates everyone, unafraid to both insult and laugh at them. It doesn't exactly make for a good time at the movies, you know? Dudley Moore gave audiences a far more lovable Arthur in the 1981 original. He was kinder and more playful, and people liked him despite his flaws. There's a tricky balancing act in making movies with unlikable protagonists, and the misguided remake fell right off the beam.
Hobson! 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 Hobson!
What?
Number 16. Freddys Face. A Nightmare on Elm Street.
Why are you screaming? I haven't even caught you yet.
Let's be honest, they should never have remade A Nightmare on Elm Street. Freddy Krueger is one of the most iconic villains in movie history, played brilliantly by Robert Englund and sporting a terribly burned face that is literally the stuff of nightmares. The makeup by David B. Miller is legendary and makes England nearly unrecognizable. And then there's his utterly forgettable appearance in the 2010 remake. Freddys Face is a combination of practical makeup and CGI, but neither is of particular interest. The makeup is too realistic and bland to be scary, and the CGI is horribly distracting. At least they tried something new, but there's just no beating the classics.
You can't wake up. I had to keep you awake long enough. So when you finally slept, you'd never wake up again.
Number 15, converting to 3D, Clash of the Titans.
But I need your help.
Of course not. You're the son of Zeus. But we have orders.
This entry isn't about a change from original to remake, but something that the remake did prior to release. 3D has been around for a long time, but there was a real boom in the early 2010s thanks to the success of Avatar. Unfortunately, this wreaked havoc on certain movies that were never meant to be in 3D. Clash of the Titans was filmed in 2D, but converted to 3D to capitalize on the new money-making trend. Director Louis Leterrier later told the Huffington Post that the conversion was, quote, just a gimmick to steal money from the audience. The results were abhorrent, and it resulted in the unique Razzie nomination for worst eye-gouging misuse of 3D.
Their insolence has a price. Like children, they need to be reminded of the order of things. Set an example, brother.
Number 14, ditching plot and characters, The Italian Job.
But you're off to a bad start, you know? Because you just blew the best thing you had going for you. You just blew the element of surprise.
Surprised?
The original Italian Job is a classic of the caper genre. Its climactic car chase is undeniably one of the best in the game. It speaks intelligently on 60s British culture, and Michael Caine's turn as Charlie Croker is endlessly enjoyable. But like Rollerball, the 2003 remake does away with most of the original's personality. While certainly not a bad film, the remake's story was an illogical mess, and none of the characters left a legacy. It also lacked the original's uniquely British charm, offering a blockbuster experience that was far slicker and more bombastic. But hey, at least the Mini Coopers were still stylish.
Got a bunch of cars in there, right? Mini Coopers?
Look, man.
Hey, don't worry about them. I'll give you $5,000 you put me inside that car.
Number 13, overemphasis on horror, Pulse.
Just like Josh said, he pulled something through.
Pulled ghosts through the Wi-Fi? It just doesn't make any sense.
There have been some bad J-horror remakes throughout the years, and Pulse is certainly one of them. Directed by J-horror master Kiyoshi Kurosawa, Cairo is a unique and often very scary examination of technology and its many social dangers. We say examination because Cairo is more of a dramatic thriller than a horror movie, with emphasis placed on theme and character. It's definitely scary, but like all great horror films, the scares support the story and what it's attempting to say. The American remake ignored all that. It was a painfully cliched piece of horror that ditched the substance of the original and grossly exaggerated the scares while also making them worse. Cairo is a classic, while Pulse was instantly forgotten.
What do they want? They want what they don't have anymore. They want life. They're coming for you too.
Number 12, change to campy comedy, The Stepford Wives.
The original film, released in 1975, has become a cult classic over the years, thanks to its satirical concept and combination of the science fiction and horror genres.
I like to watch women doing little domestic chores.
You came to the right town.
Essentially, the housewives of Stepford have been replaced by robots that happily go about their chores to please their husbands. The remake, however, changes the film's genre into campy comedy.
That's like wanting to be gay with a bad haircut.
Exactly.
The original film works as a commentary on the male desire for subservient women, which is completely undermined in the remake because of the genre change. Remarkably, the remake even makes one of the female characters the main antagonist.
Where would people never notice a town full of robots? Connecticut.
Number 11, removal of political subtext, Swept Away.
On the surface, 1974's Swept Away may look like a rom-com about a man and a woman that end up stranded on a deserted island. However, there's an underlying theme about the conflict between capitalism and communism, and acts as a commentary on class and status in society.
All I'm saying is there were problems raised by capitalism.
Guy Ritchie's modern remake, however, lacks this political subtext. Madonna, who plays the leading female character, was particularly criticized for her acting.
Is this another one of your jokes?
What's left is simply a cheesy melodrama that earned a paltry 5% score on Rotten Tomatoes.
Number 10. Pretty much everything. Pinocchio. The lack of facial expressions in The Lion King hit us hard. But then there's the whole of Pinocchio, which was just offensively bad.
No more of these sad thoughts, huh? Time for some happiness. See, this is why I gave you a smile. So that you will always be happy.
We have no idea what happened here. It was helmed by the Oscar-winning Robert Zemeckis and starred everybody's favorite actor dad, Tom Hanks. Yet the movie itself was the definition of soulless, the very embodiment of the critique that these live-action films have no heart behind them. It was inferior in virtually every way to the 1940 classic. Things it didn't change were made worse, and the things it introduced, like the forgettable new songs and the deeper background for Geppetto, were all better left unused.
I heard Geppetto name him Pinocchio.
My name is Pinocchio.
Number 9. Changing his appearance. Godzilla.
The original Godzilla, released in 1954, acts as a metaphor for nuclear weapons, a particularly relevant theme in Japan following World War II.
水爆実験が続けて行われるとしたら、あのゴジラの同類がまた世界のどこかへ現れてくるかもしれない。
The 1998 remake, set in New York City, not only lacks this important symbolism, but also completely changed the look of the character.
What are they doing?
Perhaps attempting to build on the success of Jurassic Park, Godzilla was changed into more of a giant reptile. Everything was changed, from its color scheme, to its size, to its walking style.
You know what that means?
No, but I got a feeling I'm about to find out.
The change was received poorly, particularly in Japan, where the creature was officially rebranded as Jira or Zilla, symbolizing that TriStar took the god out of Godzilla.
Number 8. Making it an action movie. Ben-Hur.
We won't question the decision to remake Ben-Hur.
Your situation is not unique, Juna. Neither are you.
Sure, the 1959 film won a record 11 Academy Awards, including Best Picture, but that was over 50 years ago, so it isn't necessarily a terrible idea to give it an update.
But how do you control what's up here? How do you fight an idea? Especially a new idea.
What is a terrible idea, however, is to change the film into a senseless, generic action flick. The modern version relies way too much on CGI, with several reviewers criticizing the film's editing. Despite having a bigger budget than the 1959 film, by nearly $85 million, the 2016 version actually earned $50 million less at the box office. Now that's a biblical failure.
I heard him say, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do.
Number 7. Changing the ending. Old Boy. Released in 2003, Old Boy is a brutal thriller out of South Korea. It follows Oh Dae-soo, a man who uncovers a horrific truth about his daughter. This same truth is revealed in the American remake, but the reaction is different. In the original, Dae-soo considers getting his memory erased so he can happily live in ignorance, but it's unclear if he went through with it or not. But, judging by his face, probably not. The remake does away with this ambiguity and has Joe simply write to Marie, telling her that they can no longer be together. It's far less interesting and doesn't raise any meaningful questions. By being so cut and dry, the remake misses out on the original's enduring power.
I want you to find happiness with a good man who has a good heart. A man unlike me.
Number 6. Ignoring the title. I Am Legend. Although I Am Legend is an adaptation of the novel of the same name, it can also be considered a remake of The Last Man on Earth and The Omega Man, especially the latter.
The more people we inject, the more serum we'll get.
Ironically, although it's the only film to share the name of the source material, it's also the only film to completely ignore the meaning of the name.
What'd you say?
In the novel, and in the first two adaptations, the main character discovers that he's become a legend among those infected by the vampire/zombie plague, similar to how these creatures were previously legends among humans.
Well, the premise is quite simple.
The modern film, although commercially and critically successful, is more of a straight zombie flick without the connection to the title. Number 5. Flamboyant Willy Wonka, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Willy Wonka is one of the most eccentric characters in all of literature, which was captured perfectly by Gene Wilder back in 1971, earning him a Golden Globe nomination. Johnny Depp's later portrayal of the Wonka Candy Company owner, however, was received much less warmly.
Wasn't that just magnificent?
While Depp certainly puts his own spin on the character, many critics found his performance to be just plain weird, seeming more like Michael Jackson than Willy Wonka. When asked, although showing respect for Depp as an actor, Wilder said that he found the performance in the film as a whole to be an insult.
Oh, poppycock.
Number 4. Replacing karate with kung fu, The Karate Kid.
Back in 1984, the story of a teenage underdog standing up to a group of jerks and beating them in a karate tournament became a cult classic.
Wax on, wax off, wax on, wax off.
The remake has an almost identical plot, although karate has notably been switched out with kung fu.
Take it down. Put it on. Take it off. Get it up.
While the remake is still an effective drama with impressive fight choreography, there's one lingering question. Why would a film entitled The Karate Kid revolve around kung fu? The change in martial art was so drastic that the film is actually called The Kung Fu Dream in China, while in Japan and Korea, it's referred to as Best Kid.
That does not represent China.
Given the false advertising, the US title should have been changed too.
I will teach you real kung fu.
Number 3. Abraham Lincoln, Planet of the Apes. The ending of the original Planet of the Apes is one of the most iconic of all time, as Charlton Heston realizes that the alien planet he's on is actually Earth following a nuclear war.
You blew it up! Oh, damn you! God damn you all to hell!
Tim Burton and company attempted to create their own iconic twist ending, but instead gave us one of the worst in early 21st century memory.
Take your stinking hands off me, you damn dirty human!
Mark Wahlberg returns to Earth, only to discover that the apes have already beaten him there. Or something. Wahlberg discovers that the Lincoln Memorial has been replaced by a monument to General Thade, and he's quickly swarmed by a police force of apes, neither of which makes any sense.
I must be out of my mind, out of my mind.
Number 2. They Don't Go to Mars, Total Recall. Some things are better left untouched. Released in 1990, Total Recall is still an immensely popular film, and features Arnold Schwarzenegger in his prime.
Consider that a divorce.
So the decision to remake the film just 22 years later was a bit surprising to say the least. Even more surprising is the decision to change the setting of Mars to Australia, which the characters travel to via a gravity elevator running through Earth's core.
I'm sorry, you know what? None of this makes any sense to me.
We get that the remake was going for a more quote-unquote serious tone, but a trip down under isn't nearly as much fun as a voyage to the Red Planet. Just because you can do something doesn't mean you should.
That's for making me come to Mars.
Number 1. Peepphole Private Time, Psycho. Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho is one of the most celebrated films in history, and gave birth to the modern-day slasher genre, while also making us terrified of our showers. Gus Van Sant decided to remake the film in 1998, but instead of updating the plot, he gave us a nearly shot-for-shot remake.
One bizarre addition, however, is having Norman Bates, played by Vince Vaughn, touch himself during the infamous peephole scene.
Seriously, of all the things Van Sant could have changed, why did he think this was necessary? It's not surprising that the film was a commercial and critical disaster, with critics calling it completely pointless.
What?
Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from WatchMojo and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.